Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. So, today we are going to be talking about a very hotly debated passage as far as the deity of Christ argument is concerned. That's John 20:28. I'm sure everybody's familiar with it. Thomas's declaration, my Lord and my God, right? This is after Jesus gets resurrected. Trinitarians like to point to this and be like, look, boom, right there. Thomas is calling him Lord and God. And they further the argument by saying that Jesus doesn't correct him, right? Verse 29, Jesus says, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. So they come here, they say Thomas is calling him God, Jesus doesn't correct him. Trinity. And that's an interpretation that you can come to. But I'm going to show today why I don't think that that's the best interpretation. And even though it is possible, like there's nothing grammatically that makes it impossible. But given the larger context of the Bible and Scripture in general, and the fact that I don't believe the Trinity is anywhere found in the Bible, I think you have to read Trinity into the Bible. But given the context of the Bible, I don't think it's a valid interpretation. So, Thomas's declaration here, right? My Lord and my God. What is he saying? This all ties to... I have three different chapters that we're going to look at, and then we're going to come back to John 20, right? The first one that we're going to look at is John 8, and it's specifically only verse 29, but I'm going to read like 27 to 29 just so you guys get the context, right? So he's talking to the Jews, and verse 27, it says, they did not understand that he was telling them about the Father. So Jesus said, when you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing on my own, but speak exactly what the Father has taught me. He who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone, because I always do what pleases him. And the reason why 29 is the focus verse is because of what it says. He who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone. Right? All right, so keep that in your mind. Now we're going to go to John 16. John 16, we're going to start at 32. Jesus is talking to the apostles again. He says, look, an hour is coming and has already come when you will be scattered, each to his own home, and you will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. Right? So again, the Father is with me. Okay? We're starting to build this idea that the Father is with Jesus. Now we're going to go to John 14. This is when he's explaining to them what is... It's before, it's obviously before 16, where he explicitly tells them, I'm getting ready to leave the world. So this is when he's still kind of explaining it in a way that they don't actually get it, right? And we're going to start at 5 and just read all the way through 20. So, Lord, said Thomas, we do not know where you are going, so how can we know the way? Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us. Jesus replied, Philip, have I been with you all this time, and still you do not know me? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own. Instead, it is the Father dwelling in me, performing his works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. Or at least believe on account of the works themselves. Okay, so here we have Jesus presenting again that idea that the Father is with him, right? And he says, do you not believe that I'm in the Father and the Father is in me? And what that means, that being in the Father, it just means that they're unified, right? So do you not believe that I am unified with the Father and the Father is unified with me, right? That I'm in union with the Father. And he's like, look, I'm not even telling you my own words. Like, the Father is dwelling in me. The Father is within me, performing his works. Believe me that we're unified, that the Father and I are unified. Right? That's what he's trying to convey to them. We're going to skip 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And 17. We're just going to jump to 18. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. In a little while, the world will see me no more. So this is talking about after he dies, right? But you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. On that day, you will know that I am in my Father, or in union with my Father, and you are in or in union with me, and I am in or in union with you. Okay, so on that day, the world will no longer see me, but you will see me. I'm going to die. You're going to see me again. And on that day, you'll know that I'm in union with the Father, and that you're in union with me, and I'm in union with you, right? So this whole time, right, Thomas and Philip, they're not getting it. They're not getting what Jesus is saying. And so he's trying to explain it to them. And then he finally gets to this culmination where he says, on that day that you see me again, you will know. You'll get it. So now let's go back to John 20:28. All right, we're going to start at 24. Now Thomas, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, one of the 12 was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, we have seen the Lord. Okay, so Jesus has died at this point. He's come back. Not all of them have seen him yet. Thomas hasn't seen him yet. But he replied, unless I see him, right? Marks in his hands, put my finger in his side, yada yada, I won't believe. Okay, 8 days later, his disciples were once again inside with the doors locked, and Thomas was with them this time. Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here, look at my hands, reach out your hand, put it into my side, stop doubting and believe. Believe, right? Thomas, after doing so, replied, my Lord and my God. Now again, the Trinitarians, they see and they're like, oh my God, look, he sees that Jesus has come back from the dead. He believes now that he's God, and Jesus doesn't correct him, right? No. Go back to John 14. What did Jesus say? Verse 11. Believe me that I'm in union with the Father, and the Father is in union with me. That's what he's trying to get them to believe. Because they don't really get it, right? Philip said, show us the Father. And Jesus is like, I've been with you so long, you guys still don't get it? He's like, the Father's in me. The Father dwells within me and is doing his works. When you're looking at me, you're seeing the Father. Not because they're the same person, but because Jesus is the perfect representation of the Father, right? But they don't understand that. And then he says, believe me that we're in union with each other. And then says, on that day you will know. On the day that you guys see me again, after I come back to life, you will finally get it. This is that day when Thomas sees him again, and he finally gets it. He sees, they saw, well, actually, I think John was the only one that saw Jesus die. But they know Jesus died, right? They saw his body put into the tomb. He was dead. And here he is standing in front of them again, completely alive. He's got the marks in his body and everything, right? Thomas sees that he is back, and he finally gets it. He finally gets what Jesus was saying in John 14. The Father is in union with Jesus and is dwelling inside him doing his works. So when he sees Jesus and he falls to his knees and exclaims, my Lord and my God, he's talking about two different people. He's acknowledging Jesus as Lord, right? Because of Jesus' faithful death, he was made Lord by God. So he's referring to Jesus as Lord. And he's finally acknowledging what he understands now that he didn't understand before. that when he's looking at Jesus, he knows that God is in him, that God is in union with him, dwelling within him, present with Jesus at all times, doing his works. He's not calling Jesus God in this verse. He's calling Jesus Lord. My Lord and my God dwelling within him. That's what he's saying. And what's funny enough, actually, about this verse, right, is we're going to eventually talk about Titus 2:13, where Trinitarians like to bring up something called Sharp's rule, where they say if like two nouns are joined by the word kai, and the first word has the definite article, that those two nouns are referring to the same person. And what's funny is they bring that up when it's convenient to try and prove the divinity of Christ. But they completely ignore it here in verse 28, where when you go to the Greek, I wanted the interlinear, not that one. When you go to the Greek, Thomas says, the Lord of me and the God of me. On both sides of Kai, the nouns Lord and God have the definite article. So when you look at Sharp's rule, which they try to use all the time to prove the divinity of Christ, they just completely ignore that if you want to hold to Sharp's rule, that this would actually make it two different reference. Like if they want to hold so strict to Sharp's rule in cases like Titus 2:13, which they're also incorrect about, and I'll show that in a different video. But if they want to hold so strongly to Sharp's rule, this very verse, just by nature of the Greek, disproves the fact that Thomas is calling Jesus God. Because on both sides of Kai, the nouns have the definite article. That can only be referring to two different people, two different things. Long story short, in this chapter, when John finally sees him, right? My Lord and my God, he sees him resurrected. And in that moment, when he sees Jesus alive, physically in front of him, he understands finally what Jesus was saying in John 14. On that day, you will know that the Father and I are unified, and that he dwells within me. He finally gets it. So my Lord, he's talking to Jesus, and then my God is an acknowledgement to the Father dwelling within Jesus. He's not calling Jesus God. He's acknowledging that he finally understands the Father is within Jesus. So, I hope that helps. That one's a little, it's not complicated, but it's very difficult to try and get someone who doesn't already see it that way to see it that way, to like really understand what's being said, because their doctrine just like, you know, as soon as they see anybody even throw the word God in Jesus' direction, they're like, boom, Trinity. And it's like, no, you just have to understand the greater context of this day and how Jesus explained it to them. Oh, and I completely forgot to even bring this up. The Trinitarian argument that Jesus doesn't correct him, right? Where like Jesus just leads right into, because you have seen me, you have believed. That's what he was talking about here in verse 11 of John 14. Believe me that the Father and I are unified. Right? He's basically scolding Thomas right here, saying you had to see me come back to life to believe that the Father is in me, that we're unified. It's like, blessed are the ones who have not seen and believe it. So this is not, verse 29 is not confirmation that he's God because he didn't correct him. Once you understand that my God is not referring to Jesus, but referring to the Father dwelling within Jesus, which Jesus said specifically in verse 11 was what they had to believe, or what they should believe, verse 29 makes perfect sense. So, just wanted to throw that little bit in there. But yeah, relatively short one. Again, not complicated, but Trinitarian doctrine kind of like is like a screen over people's eyes. But maybe this will help somebody. And I'll see you on the next one.